I would like to continue reading from this book. This is my third take, but I'm going to attempt to reenact my initial responses because I swore and I want this to be kid friendly. To continue, it may come as a surprise to learn that I was not a keen photographer when I launched into space. I had no idea you were a photographer. It's not that I didn't enjoy photography, it's just I never seemed to have a good eye for a picture. In that respect, I have a lot to thank Planet Earth for. She's a beautiful subject who made my job extremely easy. Even my early attempts rewarded me with some stunning vistas. The Cascade Mountains. I don't know where the Cascade Mountains are. I'm assuming they would be around Europe, as a guess. Frozen seas in the Hudson Bay. Actually, my family's from the Hudson Bay. Um, I grew up in Albany, New York, and the Hudson Bay, my father actually lives on the Hudson Bay. So he lives on the Hudson River. And that's pretty cool. And spectacular sunrises, to name a few. From the International Space Station, which is the ISS, you can see over 1,000 kilometers in any direction. Passing over the French Alps, I can enjoy a view stretching from Greece to the UK with just the turn of my head, which must be phenomenal to see from the French Alps to Greece. That must be a breathtaking sight. At first, the magnitude of the scene was a bit overwhelming. I imagine it would be. And my photographic skills did not extend much beyond point and shoot. I don't imagine it would. However, as I settled into this new environment, with my perspective began to change. That's fair. When your environment changes, it takes time to adjust. With 16 orbits every day, which I did not know that the ISS orbited the Earth every 16 days, that's phenomenal. It was not long before I felt I knew planet Earth pretty well. That's an interesting way to put it because I live on Earth and I don't know Earth very well. For example, it may sound strange, but I was talking about Madagascar recently. Interestingly enough, somewhere I have yet to visit, with the familiarity of someone who's traveled there extensively, I began to focus on the details. Nothing in the lakes in the Himalayas that would lead me to Mount Everest, which I already talked about, interestingly enough, without reading this paragraph yesterday. Or perhaps checking up on some small volcano in Kamchatka to see if it was still erupting. If this is the one that is in around, I believe, Indonesia, or I believe Indonesia, there is some small activity. I believe that is still going on, if memory serves me correctly. When traveling nearly 30,000 kilometers per hour, this level of detail requires some careful planning. I imagine it would. I was impressed by the sniper who shot a 1 mile shot that was a confirmed kill because he had to account for the curvature of the earth. But if you are a photographer trying to capture a picture going 30,000 kilometers an hour while rotating the earth 16 times a day, that is a extremely astronomical shot. Each morning, I would check to see where the ISS would be passing over, decide which pictures I would try to capture that day, and then set several alarms to remind me. Interestingly enough, I set alarms all of the time. And I never turn them off. I turn off notifications from my phones for everything because I can't stand the dinging. But I set alarms. And then, even if it's just like I need to set an alarm because I need to remember to take the clothes out of the dryer, I don't turn that alarm off. It just rings every time. And I don't remember. I get made fun of because, oh, your random alarm's going off because it's 3:04 p.m. and apparently you have to do something. Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember what it was that I was supposed to do. Often my alarm would go off and I'd have my hands full of a science experiment. I was just, I'm a sentimental person that doesn't have their life together, but tries to and it's a mess. Or be in the middle of a maintenance activity. I guess the maintenance activity would be handling myself. A case of better luck next time. Pretty much how that goes. However, there was a huge sense of satisfaction on all the planning paid off, and I was rewarded with a perfectly lit overhead pass of the pyramids, which I have suspicions about, or say a rare glimpse of Antarctica. As much as I enjoyed the hunt for more elusive targets, many of my most treasured pictures would often not result in the meticulous planning. That is extremely disappointing. Personally, as an artist, when you try really hard and you miss your shot like that, I understand the feels, bro. Often I would just happen to be passing by the cupola window. I don't know the definition of that word. Is that the name of the? Is that the name of the window? Yes, in this space station. And be struck by the most incredible view, a sea of thick green fog as we traveled through the Aurora Borealis. Oh my goodness. That would be, to travel through, that would be really cool. Or the disco lights of 100 lightning flashes along a massive storm front. I wonder what, like, meteor showers look like from space. Like, do you see them lit up before they hit the atmosphere? Or can you only see them as they hit the atmosphere? Because I don't know the answer to that question. I'm assuming that they shooting stars would, but because that's space trash apparently. But meteors hitting the Earth, like that kind of stuff. Do you see that? Does it ignite before or after? Night photography in low light conditions present a new set of difficulties. Um, I'm supposing that you use infrared and X-ray technology to capture that specific types of photography. And I don't know that as a photographer. I only know that as a nerd. I follow the shot. I need to refollow, but the Chandra Station on Twitter. Reflections were the numerous light sources inside the LASS were a constant problem. We used the blackout curtain around the window with a hole for the lens to poke through the prevalent for just running a picture. The next challenge was how to get a shot in sharp focus with a long exposure times and so much relative motion between the camera and the object. Yeah, that would be because everything would be moving so fast, and to get a steady shot, that would be really challenging. The best method relied mainly upon a steady hand, which it would need, and a good eye for tracking objects, something for which my previous job as a helicopter pilot had prepared me for quite well. You were a helicopter pilot. That is awesome. That is awesome. As someone who has ever used auto mode on a camera before, only ever used auto mode on a camera before, I never imagined that I would be able to intuitively adjust aperture, shutter speeds, and ISO settings depending on the rapid changing light conditions, nor discussing the merits of a particular lens over a dinner in space with my fellow astronauts. Camaraderie on a space station is clearly important, and photography one of the many common interests that astronauts from all nations can share. As a stay-at-home astronaut, I would really like to see video clips of the spiders. I know one of the space stations has spiders, and I would very much like to see their activity. In the first few weeks on board the ISS, my pictures clearly owed a great deal to the patient advice of crewmates Scott Kelly and Tom Corpora. Our camera of choice on the ISS is the Nikon D4. This is an amazing piece of equipment with a 16.4 megapixel resolution and a highly sensitive image sensor, making it perfect for low light situations. The ISS is well stocked with a variety of lenses, but I tend to stick to a staple diet of 28mm, 50 to 55, 500mm, 400mm, and 800mm lenses. We try to not change lenses too often. Dust and particles don't sink into the floor in microgravity. so it's easy to introduce contaminants into the camera when it's exposed. It must be a huge, as a previous sanitation supervisor, it must be a nightmare to keep sanitary conditions in microgravity because it to keep it in I had to clean for kosher standards and allergen contaminations, and it would be my name on the paperwork if saying that it was clean enough, and if somebody were to die because of cross allergen contamination, then it was my name on the paperwork that said it was good enough, and I to get those lines clean enough so where I trusted it, I used we used um really high pressure air to blow, and we sectioned it off with plastic, but you wouldn't have that ability in space. You would have to, I assume, vacuum, which vacuuming in how does that work? How would vacuuming in microgravity work? How does that change? Does it change the atmospheric pressure in the ISS itself? My battery is going low, so I will stop with um, that thought and I will continue later. If you like this content, please subscribe.